Cliff is standing by patiently. He's ready to do the broadcast. Cliff, are you there?
I'm here, ready to go.
Thanks very much for joining us this evening, Cliff, under all these anomalies that are happening, and the floor is yours.
Okay, that's fine. We're sure we're going out live now, and everybody's connected, huh?
Yes, everybody in chat seems to be hearing you just fine.
Okay, good deal, good deal. Well, why don't we start with our October 25th stuff, and then in the meantime, you guys can get some questions, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good. Sounds great.
Okay, the October 25th turn into building tension language is strengthened in the last time we've done our data run.
All right.
And at the moment, it appears that the early indicators are for the dollar to be the center of the focus, because we had our little preview, so to speak, between the 10th and the 15th, which we think, there were two separate streams there, but basically we think that it's going to resolve around the dollar being rejected as the global reserve currency, which is going to start causing all of our problems here. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, nothing.
Anyway, the rejection of the currency is going to cause issues for us because should bring in inflation right away. The curious part for us was that I didn't expect to see the language around the loss as reserve status until November. So it probably means it's going to hit us with a harder level of impact than I'd anticipated.
Yeah. Now, one thing I want to cover tonight, Cliff, is actually there's a couple things that really interest me. One thing is we want to know a little bit about the revolutionary changes that are coming. That I think that's on a lot of people's mind. There's this feeling out there that there's definitely some kind of revolution brewing, some kind of uprising. And
let's call it transformation, because we just don't know what form it'll take just yet.
Okay. And also, I don't know, I saw it in chat earlier. I'd like to know a little bit more about the 15% as well.
Sure.
And, so I'll just let you take that.
Yeah, let's start with the 15% business. There's a meme out there that humans are not 100% native DNA to the planet. We've been mucked about. There's even evidence to support that. If anybody ever runs their own DNA through the process, which is you zap it with electricity and get this spread, you can actually see that we all have genetic markers as though we had spliced our DNA. So this meme is out there, and it may be factual. And the meme basically says that there's some 15% of the planet's populace of humans, regardless of race, has a high level, let's put it that way, of alien or extraterrestrial DNA in there. Now, my issue with that is that I've seen a lot of stuff in the data stream that feeds the powers that be entity, and I note that they're in the process of retooling their propaganda. And one of the things they're doing in the retooling of the propaganda is to increase this whole divide and conquer business. And one of the streams they'll use for that is this claim that 15% of the populace is indeed not space alien necessary, but carries extra stuff in their DNA, which will make them special, and it's simply a divide and conquer technique as far as the powers that be are concerned. That it may be factual is neither here nor there. But later on, what they wanted to do, and I don't know that they'll succeed or not, but they want to be able to say, well, okay, this group of 15 percenters should come on over and basically join their group because they also have a high degree of alien DNA. Am I coming through? We're getting some feedback here.
I'm hearing you good here. What about everybody out there in chat? If you can hear okay, just give me an affirmative. All right. Seems like everybody's nice and clear out there.
Okay, cool.
What we're going to do, guys, is we're just going to let Cliff give us some updates here about stuff that he thinks is important. And let's hold off on the questions for just a minute, and we'll get to that here in a moment, and then we'll start feeding the questions through to Cliff. Is that okay with everybody?
Sounds good for me.
All right. So, Cliff, go ahead and take it. And I'm seeing stuff here also about the dollar. It seems that they're pretty interested about that as well.
Yeah, that's going to be very interesting because it's truly an issue of confidence. And once confidence starts to go, it erodes, and then it continues to erode until there's like a critical mass, and then it will turn on you all of a sudden. If we go and we analyze various currency crashes of the past or currency devaluations, official, like in the time they swapped the old franc for the new franc in France in the early 60s, we see that the confidence issue really is the key element. And when the French lost value or lost faith in the confidence of the franc during the swap, it was like 1 for 5 or something like this. But in that process of that swapping of currency, you're treated to a new sheet of paper. There, you don't have any confidence in it. Everything seems shaky at that time because here you've just lost, nominally 4/5 of your investments or wealth. Yeah. And the issue for us is going to be with the dollar being rejected as a global reserve. How fast will the confidence erode within the U.S. to the point that we all just decide we're not going to deal with the Federal Reserve anymore and we'll take up some other form of interpersonal currency kind of a deal for our personal transactions. And I'm unsure as to the speed now as to how fast that'll go. Initially, I thought it would take almost a whole year. And I'd seen this sort of progression of around the early part of November, we would see the first of the language appear about the lack of or the rejection of the dollar as the reserve currency, and then maybe by December it would grow a little bit and move on into January, February before we had any real currency crisis here in the U.S. However, we're seeing that language about rejecting the dollar now before the turn of the language, and so it really suggests that maybe we'll have a major currency crisis here on October 25th or shortly thereafter that will hold our attention for 10 or 15 days. Now, or actually it's like 10.5 or some 10 and a half days. And here's an issue. George, you and I discuss things like this all the time and try and argue and discuss our monkey mind issues relative to the larger archetypes. And so we know we've got a building tension language period coming that's going to last 10 and a half days and then go into this crocodile teeth with lots of release language and so on. And one of the things we constantly wonder ourselves is, okay, what could cause that? And he was saying, blah, 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 terrorist attack. And I would say no, because the issue is that if the terrorist attack, it'd be release language thereafter immediately. And we don't have that. So in other words, we don't have a little spike of building tension and then a release language and then a big upsweep of building tension that would say maybe a terrorist attack might be at the root of it. And I proffered to him another alternative, which might be that, well, you could sort of imagine a terrorist attack causing building tension language if, for instance, the terrorists came and took a bunch of hostages, and then it took 10 and a half days for all this stuff to resolve. Mm-hmm. If that were the case, then all right, that sort of makes sense as a building tension issue. But we don't really have anything that would suggest that. But one thing we do have is all this language around the dollar. And globally, there's a lot of language around their particular, individual countries' particular view of what's going to happen to them when the dollar goes. Yes. So we may indeed be looking at a major currency crisis that develops and, in essence, holds us all hostage through those 10 and a half days.
So definitely a global event, not just specific to the United States.
That's quite correct. Usually when we do these charts and stuff, and we do release language, we're doing a sum on the emotion duration and impact of the emotions in all the entities, including global pop. So it is always a planetary kind of a view. And we have a situation here where we're quite sure that the dollar is going to have a planetary level of impact. And so it's going to be interesting to say the least. Now, one last thing about the dollar element here is that if the currency crashes or runs into a crisis, we might indeed see ancillary problems like bank holidays and so on, or whatever they're going to call them. We still have language building under our lockdown archetype relative to the global currency system. So it wouldn't surprise me that something fairly dramatic might happen over that weekend of the 24th and 25th, such that by the time that the release language shifts into building tension late on the night of the 25th, it sort of begins with the Asian markets.
Yes.
Because our time on that is about, I think, last I looked, it was about 2 or 3 in the morning. Pacific time was when the actual shift into the building tension language occurs. And that would be coincident with the Asian markets getting moving, and if it is to be a currency issue, I would expect, as on most of our currency issues of the past, say, 30 years, have originated out of the Southeast Asian markets. You know, the Thai baht and other currency problems.
Well, so how would we prepare or brace for this financial collapse that's imminent? I mean, do you have any
you need to
suggestions
get any assets you have in terms of a nominal or a notional wealth. That is to say, any digital dollars you've got, any reserves, that kind of a way, into something that is solid for you and is of a value. Because basically what is likely to happen is that, well, what is certain to happen is that we'll have a confidence crash in the dollar.